Hello rail fans, and welcome back to another video here on the Rusty Boxcar channel. If you can, please click on that link below, the subscribe button, to get a subscription to the channel, and also make sure you click on the little bell notification next to it so that you will be notified of all future videos that come out. Also, if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up below to give us a like. In this video, we're going to recap the recent trip that we took up to Illinois, as well as a couple other Midwestern states. This was the trip that we put out on a poll on the YouTube channel here to ask everybody where they would like to see videos from. Illinois was the winner with a little over 40% of the vote, and so you asked and we've delivered. So we went to Illinois, Centralia specifically, hung out there for a little bit, about half a day, and then made our way a little bit to the east from there. Picked up a couple more trains and wound up in Princeton, Indiana. And then the next day went over into Kentucky. So hope you guys enjoy these videos. I've got several trains coming your way here. It's going to be kind of a longer video than normal, but wanted to put the whole recap together for you. So let's get going. And for our first train of the day, we got to Centralia about 10 minutes before Amtrak 390 arrived. Amtrak 390 is one of the Illinois service commuter trains, technically a state-run commuter train that runs from Carbondale, Illinois up to Chicago, Illinois. Is led up by IDTX 4603 in the Amtrak Midwest paint scheme. It's actually registered to the Illinois Department of Transportation. And it's unit SC44. And so a short time after that train went by, we got our first freight train of the day. This is a Norfolk Southern Manifest train. It's headed technically railroad east. It's coming south through Centralia, and then we'll head on towards Louisville on the Louisville district. One of the bad things about going into foreign territory, not as used to the radio call signals, so I wasn't able to pick up the symbol of this train. So not sure if it's destined for Louisville or some point further to the east or maybe the south. This one's going to be led up by NS 4496 and NS 4190. 4496 is a pretty fresh looking AC44 C6M, a recent rebuild, and 4190 is a C40-9 Devia. It's going to have a mid-train DPU of NS1831, which is an SD70 Ace. And it's going to come through pretty slowly as it crosses over the diamond south of us. So you won't get to see that, but that's why it's going so slow through town here. Next up, we headed north to the south end of the BNSF yard in town. Was hoping to see a train coming out, but unfortunately this train was just doing some yard switching. Stopped right here and then later on backed up. It's BNSF 3988, which is an ET44C4. We then made our way to the south end of town towards the Canadian National ex-Illinois Central yard. Caught a couple of pieces of BNSF maintenance of way equipment here. We weren't able to get close enough to either one of the yards to deploy the drone, so that was a bit disappointing. And we weren't able to actually catch any trains coming in or out of either one of the yards. Next up may be one of the funnier moments of the trip. Again, out in foreign territory, sometimes it's kind of hard to realize what's going on around you. We did hear a train call in on the radio and ask for a track warrant, which the Norfolk Southern trains have to do to come through this stretch of track. Made the assumption it was going to be a large freight train, and when you're on site looking through the little viewfinder in the camera zoomed way down the tracks, you can't really tell exactly what's going on all the time. So up until the point it got pretty close to us, really thought this was going to be a nice sized train. Wound up just being a single locomotive pulling a gondola that looks like it had old pieces of rail equipment, old spikes, old tie plates, things like that. Was an interesting locomotive though. It's going to be NS 5317. It's a GP38-2, was an ex-Penn Central and an ex-Conrail. Dates all the way back to March 1973, so we're almost looking at a 50-year-old piece of equipment here. And it's in the Operation Lifesaver paint scheme, which not a lot of those are still out running around. So pretty cool locomotive to see, even though it wasn't exactly the nice long freight train we were looking for. And next up, we've got another one of the Illinois service trains. This one's Amtrak 391. We drove out to Alma, Illinois because we wanted to catch this one at track speed. It's making its way south from Chicago to Carbondale. According to the Track Your Train app through Amtrak, which you're able to verify and watch the location and also see the speeds, this one's getting ready to rip past us at 80 miles an hour. So, having done what we set out to accomplish out in Alma, we headed back towards Centralia when, as we're crossing this bridge out of the left side of my eye, and again as we get over this out of the right side, I give the "oh crap, it's another train" moment. And so we did a quick U-turn down here, a little bit behind the scenes moment of us chasing this back down. We're going to wind up back in Alma at that same point. I'll fast forward the rest of our drive here, and then we'll give you a little bit of recap of what the train is once the locomotive passes by, which it does pretty quickly after we stop the truck. As you can see there, we may have been just a little bit aggressive with the brakes getting into this parking lot. However, we did manage to catch the manifest train. This is actually a Canadian National manifest running up the old Illinois Central line. It's got 2 BNSF leaders and then 2 Canadian National locomotives. The BNSFs are both ES44DCs, locomotive 7480 and 7496. And then the Canadian National locomotives are 2557, which is a C44-9W, and 3058, which is an ET44AC. So one thing we found constantly happening to us on this trip was that we really struggled to stay ahead of trains. We were chasing them constantly or just barely pulling in the turnoffs ahead of them. So here we've got a UP auto rack. Saw this one headed through Illinois, wound up catching it just outside Bonnie, Illinois. Again, didn't catch the symbol, but it's led up by UP 2665, which is an ET44AH. And as you can see here, this is another one that we just barely got in front of. This is on the second day of our trip. We spent the night in Princeton, Indiana, and got up the next morning and started moving across the Louisville district in southern Indiana on the Norfolk Southern. Caught this one just outside Oakland City, Indiana. It is NS 223, first train of the trip that we caught the symbol for on the radio. It's auto racks and intermodal, headed from Avondale Yard in Kansas City, Missouri, down to East Point, Georgia. And as you can see there at the front, it was led up by NS 3637, NS 9760, and NS 4436. This one's a steel coil train that we caught in Birdseye, Indiana. It's led up by NS 7534, which is an ES40 DC, and NS 9845, which is a C40-9W. It's got a rear DPU, NS 1085, which is an SD70 Ace. Not sure where these coils are headed. There's some car plants in southern Indiana, Toyota specifically in Princeton, so not sure if that's the destination. Didn't catch its symbol on the radio. This is actually a ground shot we got from the GoPro, really simply to catch audio of the train, because we did fly the drone on this one and wanted to match up sound. Like the way it turned out, so we left it in, and then next up here is going to be that drone footage for you. So now we are on the CNO and TP First District, the Norfolk Southern line that runs down through Kentucky and into Tennessee. Didn't have a lot of luck on this line. We caught this train here, NS282, as you can see again. This is another one where we just barely got pulled in, jumped out, got the train. This one's headed from Simpson Yard in Jacksonville, Florida, up to Landers Yard in Chicago, Illinois. We caught it outside Sherman, Kentucky. It's all intermodal, as well as we've got some UPS LTL trailers on it. It's led up by 3 locomotives, 9948, which is a C44-9W, 8081, which is an ES44AC, and 1010, which is an SD70 Ace. We tracked one more train on this line, NS215, which was a southbounder, and we were ahead of it, and we waited a while, and it still didn't come down the tracks. Foolishly decided to drive a little bit further south, see if we could catch it in a nicer place, and lost track of the tracks. Found out later it had the Savannah and Atlanta Heritage unit on it. After our disappointment on the CNO and TP, we headed back towards Nashville, came across the Bluegrass Parkway, picked up I-65 just south of Louisville, and stopped off at Glendale, Kentucky to see if we could see anything on the CSX mainline tracks, the mainline subdivision. We caught up with CSX I-142, so while we were out of town on this trip, CSX decided to rename all their intermodal trains from Q's up to I's. I guess with all the Q trains they're currently running that are other commodities, it's simpler for them to keep track of all the intermodals as I's. So the numbers largely stayed the same, just flipped letter. So this one is Autorack / intermodal, going from Duval Yard in Jacksonville, Florida, up to Osborne Yard in Louisville, Kentucky. Led up by 3 CSX locomotives, 7236, 5492, 3106, and it's got a mid-train DPU of 820. When we were back at Glendale, we heard them talking to Q203, an Autorack train, on the radio. So we headed south to Sonoro, Kentucky to set up and catch a different location. It's led up by CSX 598, which is an AC44CW. It's Autoracks going from Osborne Yard in Louisville, Kentucky down to Baldwin, Florida. And coming up here is going to be the DPU unit. It is CSX 940. I want you to pay special attention to that. I will try to do a freeze frame for you. It's dubbed the Crayola unit. Some time ago, looks like about 3 years ago from pictures I've been able to see, the unit had to have its service doors replaced. They're all still in yellow paint, and someone hand stenciled the CSX logo past the first part of the C. Did a pretty poor job of it. That's why it's called the Crayola unit, so give that a check. It's the first time that we have seen this one. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click on the thumbs up below to give us a like. Also, please click on the Rusty Boxcar logo on the right side of the screen to get a subscription to the channel. And send us a comment. Really enjoy reading all your comments, and I try to respond to each one of them. Thanks, and have a nice day.